This quick video will demonstrate all of the skills necessary to accept patients through lifespan physiotherapy staffing. First, you will begin receiving a text message from the scheduling department asking if you have the availability to see a patient in a specific location. If you are available, please let them know, and if not, no problem. Next, we will send the patient email, which has the patient's last name, date, that you have accepted the patient, as well as the home health agency. There are case notes which will help you with continuing with the patient, the insurance of the patient, as well as the start of care date information. Additionally, we will put any special requests from the agency, and we will link any agency paperwork just in case. Once you have received this email, it means that the patient has been assigned to you on EMR. So, navigating to EMR, you can select the patient through My Referrals or from your patient dropdown and choose Retrieve. And here you'll be able to see any patient contact information, their home health agency, their insurance information, as well as the physician and nurse assigned. It is important to look over this information and get an idea of the patient. Under Uploaded Documents, you can see the history and physical, which may be the hospital discharge information, as well as their chart notes, their insurance provider, and their further demographic information. Now that you have reviewed the patient's chart, you can contact the patient at the phone number provided by introducing yourself as the home health agency social worker. After contacting the patient, choose Communication Report under the blue Other Forms button and write the result of this conversation or the contact attempt. This will help everybody involved in the case to know that you have reached out to the patient. Each form will require you to sign and if you happen to notice that you signed in the wrong box, you can always go back and re-sign the note. Clicking Next, you are able to, of course, date the note as well, and this should always match the date of the note up at the top. Review the note and finalize. Now that you have documented your attempt, let's say the patient calls back and you're able to set up an appointment. This is also located under the blue Other Forms button, and this is a therapy order because the appointment has been scheduled. So here you'll just want to write who you spoke to set up this appointment, as well as their relation if they have one, and when you have set up the appointment. You can include the date, or you can also include the time. As always, you will need to sign the note, and date the note. Finalize the note after reviewing, and you now have your appointment set up. Go to the My Referrals page to begin your evaluation, and from the Select Action box, you will want to choose Eval. This should only be performed once you are actually in the patient's home, as the clock will begin once you have opened up this note. After quickly reviewing the patient information, choose Proceed to Eval. And after confirming the date matches today's date, proceed. At the top of the note under patient information, you'll see information that has been pre-filled in by the intake department, the psychosocial status of the patient, where you will document their communication skills, their mental status, as well as their emotional status. Next is the living situation and support system, where you document if the patient lives alone, if they have a support system outside of the home and what that may be, their spiritual support. Health factors will typically be assistance required since the patient is in home health. So you should document how they are getting around their home, if at all. The environment should include the evaluation of the home, so the safety and cleanliness, as well as how the patient goes to their doctor's appointments. Finally, you have the financial resources section, documenting if the patient has adequate resources to meet their needs and expenses, and if they wish to apply for assistance. Before getting to the referrals and community resources, it's important to note that all of these above sections should be adequately documented, not just the checkdowns and the dropdowns, but you should fill in the additional information section to paint a picture of how the patient is performing and what resources they will need. Once you have done that, you can move on to the referrals and community resources section and check off any community resources or referrals you have made. If you are making a referral to IHSS, it is important to document that you have informed the patient and that you will be following up with the county social worker to ensure they are visiting the patient. As the home health social worker, it is important that you make these referrals for the family. Under the problem list and functional limitations portion, you can check off anything that you have assessed with the patient during this visit. Under assessment and justification, you should document the skilled care provided by you as a home health social worker during this visit. And under treatment as tolerated, you can quickly check off anything that you have provided as well. If you have coordinated with anyone else for the patient's care, such as a therapist or nurse, you can document the results of this conversation here. And under plan, you can document your plan for the patient. It is important to note that in a home health setting, a patient typically only receives a referral for a home health MSW evaluation. However, if you require additional visits, you can always request those from the home health agency. Typically, only 1 to 2 additional visits will be granted, though, so that you can follow up on the status and progress of the patient. Next is the goals portion of the note, which is broken down by all of the sections that you filled out on the previous part of the evaluation. You'll check each goal that you wish to include and include the functional outcome. If you need to freehand a goal, those will always be located at the bottom of the section. Next is the discharge/next visit planning portion, where you will choose if the patient will receive additional visits or be discharged today or discharged within the week. Skip the frequency calendar and skip the additional forms, as social workers do not fill these out. Moving on, you must always have the patient sign each billable visit note. If you lose connection, you can have the patient sign on a piece of paper, and this can be uploaded. You must sign each billable note as well. And finally, you must date each note. This should always match the date of the evaluation. Review the time in and time out, and remember that the time in matches the time that you began the visit. And finally, after the visit, you should put in verbal orders. Again, most home health visits will be for one visit, meaning the orders will have already been received from the nurse or doctor who ordered the social worker evaluation, but you should always contact either the home health agency or the doctor to relay this information and let them know that the patient does not require additional home health visits. Review the agency's specific instructions, which will match the instructions sent to you in the case email, and contact the home health agency or doctor as the instructions state. The conditions of participation require that you write down who you spoke to, what your order is for, the date that the verbal order was received, as well as the time. A typical verbal order may read something like, spoke with Dr. John, obtained verbal order for MSW 1 week 1, meaning just one visit, or it could also read something like MSW 1 week 2 if you plan to follow up with the patient the following week. On the last page, you'll get a chance to review your note, and you can choose Save and Exit to come back and work on it later, or you could also finalize the note if everything is done and you're ready to submit to the QA team. When you press Save and Exit, you can access this note from the main page when you sign in. This note will appear under your Alerts portion under Saved Visit. Returning back to the patient's record, you can now see that your note is saved and choose the Other Forms button to fill out the case conference note, which is required by the state of California. The case conference note requires that you document the progress of the patient, as well as your plan for the patient. Of course, sign, date, review, and finalize the note. These are all of the basics required to see a patient for lifespan physiotherapy. If you have additional questions, you can always reach out to our team, however, and we will gladly guide you through the process.